episode of Wedded Wednesdays. And on this episode, we're going to be talking about supporting your spouse. Important that you support your spouse in everything that he or she does. If you don't support your spouse, two things can happen. The first thing, they'll get outside support from somewhere else. And we'll talk about that deeper in another episode maybe. But then the second thing is that if you don't support your spouse, then they won't support you back. So those are the two things that will happen. They'll seek support outside. Then they won't support what you're trying to do. And so with supporting your spouse, I try to support my wife in everything that she does. If she wants to go back to school, I want to support that. If she wants to have a cooking channel, I want to support that. In her music ministry, if she wants to be a music artist, if she wants to sing, if she wants to travel, I support that. And it's important that I support that because in return, she has supported me in so many things that I've done, so many things that I've decided to do in my life. With my music ministry, she's right there in support of it. With my preaching ministry, she's right there in support of it. Everywhere I go, everywhere I minister, my wife is always there supporting me, pushing me, and covering me. So it's very important that we support our spouses, not just in ministry. We don't want to just keep it in ministry minded, but even if your husband wants to do a career change, he's not feeling the job, he wants to go back to school and do something else, support that. Because one thing a man definitely needs, and a wife, but I'm talking from the male's perspective as a husband, what he definitely needs is the support of his wife. If his wife supports him, he feels like he can do anything.
Well, support is vital.
Yes.
For one's relationship.
Yes.
It's vital.
And I can imagine one of my favorite couples in the world are the Obamas. And can you imagine if President Barack Obama, before he was president, Senator Barack Obama said in the bedroom, "Hey, Michelle, I'm thinking about running for president." Can you imagine if she wasn't supportive like some wives are? President, you better sit down and do these dishes. You better sit, President, you ain't let me be class president. But she supported
over his house.
And she pushed him. And because she pushed him, it took him to a whole nother level. If my wife say I can do it, oh man, I know I'm gonna be all right. Yeah. What you got to say about that?
I agree. I totally agree. And there is nothing, I know sometimes we have a lot of support coming from the outside. We got a lot of different people that love our ministry and love what we're doing and love our different and separate endeavors we have going on. But there is nothing quite like your spouse's support. Just knowing that they're there in full support of what you're doing, even when some of the things that you desire to do kind of fall by the wayside or whatever. Sometimes we have so many different things on the table, but it doesn't matter, because whatever it is that you have a heart's desire to do, your spouse, when you know that you have their full support in whatever it is that you're doing, it's just nothing quite like that. We love the support of the outside and what you, all the others that give you, but there is nothing quite like having, the one that you are constantly with, and the one that is your spouse you lay next to every night, everything, just knowing that they're there in the room with you wherever you are, just knowing that their presence is there, and you know that you have their full support. There is nothing in the world like that. I love the fact that my husband supports me in anything I do. I'm talking about whatever I feel like I have a heart's desire, or whatever God gives me to do, or whatever, and I go to do it. He's always there in full support, even at times, and sometimes if he's not, even his presence may not quite be there all the time, but he still, trust me, he's in the background of something all the time. So I love it that you're always there in support of any and everything I do. Even when I was in school, even when I was working a full-time job, and I was also going to school full-time. And I found myself in a place I was kind of feeling bad at one point in that point in time in my life. I was feeling bad because he was juggling the home, he was juggling the kids, and at that time I had
Tell them about your husband.
Yeah, at that time was Rocky about 6 and Jasmine was about
a baby.
Yeah, Rocky was about 6 years old and Jasmine, I want to say Jasmine was about 12 months. And during this time,
Rocky was about 73, 74 months.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, you guys get the point. But I started to feel a little bad about it or whatever, because I would leave my home at 7 a.m. in the morning and I wouldn't return back home till like 10:30 at night. And I had been gone all day long, and by the time I returned back home, my children are in bed sleep, and it's the same thing, just seeing them off on my way out, and trying to, it was just hard dealing with that. But I just love the fact that my husband didn't say, you know what, you got to come off this job, you got to come off, you got to do something because I can't do this. No, he never did that. He he sucked it up, he manned up with it, and he was like, you I support you, whatever. And he never ever deterred me or wavered me from that, or made me feel like I know it was hard, and I know at times that when he wanted to show it, he didn't quite show it, but he just continued to push me, and I'm grateful for that your support was there with me.
And bless you. God bless you.
Yeah,
But and when doing that, you take the weight off of your spouse when they have to do things and they feel like they don't have your support. It's harder to do it. Yeah. It's harder to be great when your family isn't supporting you in that. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to take the weight off of her. Look, go ahead and do what you got to do, because if she didn't have a supportive husband, now you're in school trying to get this, you're in college trying to get your nursing degree, mm-hmm. and you did get it.
Yep.
And
y'all ain't know that, did you?
Yeah. You did get it, but you don't want to obtain things in a stressful manner.
No.
So you make the work environment easier when you are a supportive spouse. And just like me, even when I'm at work now, mm-hmm. Knowing that my wife is supporting everything that I'm doing now, I'm traveling here, I'm traveling there, and she's not getting upset. She said, look, that's what you got to do. You're called to do this, and I'm in support of that. So I appreciate that on her part. And it's important that you support your spouse. You should be the best cheerleader. The first cheerleader, you should be the loudest cheerleader. It's a couple in my church. I don't know if I can say their name or not, but there's a couple in my church. Every time he preaches, the loudest person in the audience is his wife. He can read the stewardship message. He can read the announcement, and she'll stand on the pew. Go ahead! I love it. Yeah. I love it because if anybody gonna support you like that, it ought to be your spouse.
That's right.
And it gives you can have 1,000 people cheering your name and have one wife cheering your name, and that one wife overshadow the 1,000 people because it means more coming from your spouse. Yeah. So it's important that we support our spouses.
That's
husbands. Right. Support your wives. Wives, support your husbands. Yes. And whatever they do, you might not understand it, mm-hmm. but support it.
Yes, and not only support because sometimes all support is not good support, and sometimes there are, I believe, and I've seen it in some couples relationships or whatever the case may be, and I'm not just solely focusing on the couple, but I've seen it as to where there were spouses, a little burdened, a little deterred on certain things that their spouses was doing, and didn't want to support them, didn't agree with what they were doing, felt like it was just a waste of time or whatever the case may be. But I just don't think that that's our call to make when it comes to our spouses. I think that whatever it is that God has given them or they have a heart's desire to do at that time, I think as a spouse, even if it doesn't make any sense to us, even if we feel like it's not quite beneficial to the family, or it would just be this big waste of time, and feeling like, oh, this is just something that's you're not going to fully go through with it or whatever. Everything you try to do or whatever, you do it for a minute and you just stop it. Just stop it already, whatever. We got to be careful in those moments right there, because we can find, we can have our spouses to at some point become resentful towards us, being that, okay, well, that's what you really think about me. That's how we, you got to be careful, because you can now allow the enemy to come in the midst of that. Because what do you mean? What you mean? This is something else, or this won't be beneficial. What do you mean? This is something that I'm going to drop the ball with again, or whatever the case may be. That can be offensive, and they'll carry that, in their headspace and in their spirit. They'll walk around with that, and next thing you know, they're resentful towards you, because now in their mind, you really don't. Not only that, you don't believe in me. You don't believe in what I'm trying to do. Even if I do, even if it goes the way that you say it might go, just support me. Just don't worry about all of that. I just need your support in whatever it is.
I hear you with that, but then a lot of times, and of course, we want to push support your spouse, but a lot of times, nobody knows your shortcomings like your spouse.
Yeah.
So if you have a tendency to drop the ball, nobody knows that like your spouse.
Right.
So a lot of times and I'm trying to see when there's not support, it's probably because of a history of support gone bad. And when I say support gone bad, I supported you in the last thing, and you dropped the ball completely, and we invested thousands of dollars in it, and nothing happened, and you just dropped the ball. So my support this time around I might raise a red flag, because I'm not sure if you're going to go all the way through with it. And that's when you have to sit down and come up with a plan. And I say it like this: if a husband says, honey, I'm going to get this new Mercedes Benz. I know I ain't working. I know you're the only one working. I know I don't even have a driver's license. But I need you to support me in this. I want this Benz. Let's find a way to get it. Now, that's support gone bad, because now you're supporting somebody and getting something that they're not even qualified for, because you their spouse. They ain't got no driver's license. Mm-hmm. They're not even working. So we have to be careful in negative support, because that's negative support. Your spouse is supposed to support you, yes, but let's be realistic in our support as well.
So with conditions.
With conditional support, absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm going, honey, I'm going to apply for Harvard. All right, that's dope. Let's go get this GED first.
Right.
Let's go, because let's
put things in that. I totally agree with that, 100%. But I'm talking about the spouses, because some of these people got some spouses that they're kind of rough.
Yes.
And listen, so even and I, like you say, knowing your spouse, and you know who you married, you know who you're connected and you're linked up with, because you knew a lot of these things before you said I do, right?
Absolutely.
So my thing is, and you also know if your spouse is short-tempered, if your spouse is easily offended, or whatever the case may be. So in those areas, using wisdom is necessary, and with knowing how to deal with and handle your spouse in those supportive areas. But my thing is going back to with when you're supporting your spouse and what they're trying to do, and even if they're coming back, I think we gotta just basically make sure we know how to approach our spouses, knowing what to say, using wisdom when we're getting ready to approach them. Not necessarily meaning that we're here to bring down the idea or bring down the dream that they have, but just to come to you to make sure that you're using wisdom and trying to help you to bring it all into making some common sense. Now, if the wife or if the husband has supported you financially in these different desires or these different endeavors, and you have done it for a while and you drop the ball or whatever the case may be, and then you come back with another dream, or there's another big thing that you want to do, and it's money involved, finances involved. Now that's going to raise an eye, because now you have to be careful, because now those finances that you're pulling away, you're pulling that away from the home. You're pulling that, away from other things that could be possibly, the money could possibly be used for within the structure of the family and the household. So you got to be careful that you're just not being wasteful, and you got to be mindful that whatever these desires or these dreams that you have on the table, and these different things, ideas that you have and that you want to do, that it's just not, you got to make sure that these things are coming from a good place. Because a lot of times people can do a whole lot of stuff, but there's some other underlying issues that are taking place behind that. You know what I'm saying? Why are you doing this? Why?
And that's when the conversation needs to be had.
Why are you not carrying out these things that you're doing? Why are you stopping? Why do you continue to be lackful? Why do you continue to not slackful in not moving forward and doing what you had this heart to do? They give up so fast, or it's not working, or I tried it, it wasn't for me, it wasn't moving the way that I wanted it to move, it wasn't going at the speed that I thought it should be going at, or whatever the case may be. So therefore that I would say that's where we would need our spouses to come in and to kind of check us in those areas, to make sure that we're just not being wasteful, we're just not being slackful, and making sure that what we're doing and the desires that we have makes sense. Let me come in, and what the Bible tells us, to come together, let us reason. Let reason together.
And I'm going to say one last thing, because with support, and I know we got to wrap up, with support, not only just support, because you can support somebody by just being there and not doing nothing, you're just there. But in real extreme support is when you push them. Yeah. Continue to push them. Look, I'm going to help you. I'm going to push you to do this. And I remember something that my wife did with me, with my choir. We had a live recording back in 2013. Over 1,000 people there, and she wanted to enhance it. So she said, you know what? I'm going to cook food. I'm going to cater for about 300 of your special guests. I'm like, yo, that's not just support. That's her pushing to make it even better. So when you're really supporting your spouse, you're going to push it to do whatever you can to not just be there, but to enhance it. So it can be a success. And when your spouse wins, guess who else wins? You win. You win. When she wins, I win. When I win, she wins.
That's right.
So support goes hand in hand. This has been another episode of Wedded Wednesdays. Yes. And we appreciate you for tuning in and just checking us out. We've been talking about supporting your spouse. Yes. Whatever your spouse desires to do, you make sure you be there to support it. Yes. And make sure you be there to show your love and your concern towards their endeavors. And I promise you, it's going to work out for both of you.
Definitely. We just might have to have a part 2 on this, because this is, I'm pretty sure that, there are a lot of people that are struggling and that are dealing with this particular topic that we've been speaking of. So we will see about if we can, try to have a part 2 on this. We want to help somebody, because I know it's a whole lot of different things that we're just going to be dropping nuggets on and sharing with you. We want to make sure that we're helping and impacting lives at the same time. So thank you again for tuning in with another episode and joining with us at Wedded Wednesdays. And we look forward to seeing you again. We'll see you next week.
We love you.
Love you. Peace. Bye.